I think it is one of the best kids movies ever made. I think you'd be hard pressed to find 5 kids movies better. Like, this isn't a top 5. Like, I think that's where the conversation generally starts. Is it in your top 5? I think this movie is in the top 5 of kids movies of all time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it probably is too, but that's what I want to talk about. It's like, it is in my top 5, like in terms of enjoyment and in terms of just like impact and nostalgia and all of that. Yeah. But then watching it as an adult, I did have some like, oh, this is a little weird. Like structurally speaking, okay. I think like, I might argue, stay with me here. I might argue that it is an incredibly enjoyable, important for what it was at the time, obviously very impactful, enjoyable, impactful, but it might be kind of like a poorly told story.
I'm gonna disagree.
Well, I have receipts.
We'll take you on right here, right now. Come on. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we should start.
No, I wasn't going to.
But
let's start with.
But stay tuned for them.
Yeah, a little tease.
Because nothing's perfect.
Of course,
nothing's perfect. So sure, but I don't think there's any glare. I don't think that you're making it sound like I watch it as an adult and I go, ugh. This is bad.
No. It's only if you really like dive into it from like, film intelligentsia. No, I don't think it's a nitpick. I really do think and even still, I want to be very clear. Like,
you hate the movie?
My new thoughts were not like,
children?
actually this movie isn't that great. Spoiler alert. Fucking twist. Like, no, it's not. I love this movie. Yeah. Full stop, period, everything.
Yeah.
It is a huge part of my childhood, and I would argue that it's one of the 2 or 3 best kids movies, certainly of the 90s. Like, it might be the kids movie of the 90s.
So do you love it because of how you felt about it at the time? Because I think as a young, again,
of course.
You're like, yes, I love this. I want to be these kids. I want to hang out with these kids. I want to live in this world. I think that's why people of our age can identify with this movie and love this movie. But I watched this movie this morning, and I still go, this is a pretty good kids movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's still a good, like, my opinion didn't necessarily change as an adult. How I go, yes, I was right as a kid to like this movie.
So I wouldn't say my opinions changed. It's just I noticed more.
Okay.
And so I noticed more in a way that, like, if I wanted to be critical and like film snob critic,
you're just defining yourself.
then I could be like, oh yeah, this is weird.
You guys suck.
So we'll get to there. But in terms of like the impact and what makes it so great, let's start there. Okay. So we don't lose everybody right out of the gate.
They never came.
Stop! What the Seriously? You guys suck.
Yeah, I know. It's like our Instagram live. No one's here. I was trying to think about, and that's what I thought going into this rewatch, because I hadn't seen it in a few years, and even though I've seen it a couple hundred times, I was like, I want a refresher. So I went into it through the lens of, why is this movie so great? It's a foregone conclusion that it's great.
That is great. But
so why? What makes it great? And the things I thought of were, pretty strong performances by kids throughout. I think that's important for all kids movies that star kids.
Yeah.
Like, the kids have to be pretty good.
I think the kids are very good.
I think the kids are mostly pretty good.
I think they're very good.
Who's your favorite? And then, who do you think does the best?
I really think Squints.
Squints.
I think does a good job.
Yeah.
Because he tells the story. Who tells the story?
Squints. Yeah.
Right? I think.
Forever.
Yeah, forever. I forget who.
Forever.
Yeah, I thought he did a great. I thought he did a good job.
Chauncey.
Is that his real name?
Chauncey Leopardi. I was a big fan of his because I loved Squints, and he was also in House Guest. Phil Hartman's son in House Guest with Sinbad. Loved that movie as a kid.
Well, you're gonna have to work harder, son, if you want to make it to the big leagues.
He also had a small role in Father of the Bride, which was a big part of my childhood too. So Chauncey was like a guy.
When
I was like 7, I was like, I want to meet that guy Chauncey. That guy's cool.
I'm trying to think who. I thought he might have been one of the lessers of the kids. I don't know how you feel about.
What's funny is that like might be my favorite character now. Like as an adult, the last couple of times I've watched it, I'm like, that kid's pretty funny. Like a lot of, so's my sister, but like that, all that shit's really funny. It's good stuff.
I feel like I'm blanking on, the Hambino was great.
Yeah, he's great.
He's fantastic. The stuff about when he's the catcher and he's throwing the one-liners, like Dave Bucko, shout out to Dave Bucko, like, he was a catcher and like wanted to be that every time you're up at bat, whether it was like in Little League or in like wiffle ball play. Like there was always that guy who was like, is that your sister out in the outfield?
She's naked. She's naked. He says it twice.
Hey, is that your sister out there in left field? Naked? She's naked. Shut up, Porter!
That's the genius.
He's great.
Patrick Renna, I think is
his name. I don't know any of these kids' names. I think they're all really strong, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I mean, the littlest brother, there were two brothers, right?
Yeah, Timmy and Tommy or something.
Yeah, so the younger one was a little still but I'm nitpicking. I think they all did what they needed to do.
The Colossus of Cloud. The Colossus. Shut up, Tommy. Yeah. I think most of them do good. I mean, Chauncey was always my favorite as a kid because I love Squints for reasons we'll get into. You know what they are. But I almost think like being really critical, like his performance is a little up and down, like especially towards the end when they're doing all the recon shit with trying to get the ball. Like I don't know, he gets a little stilted, but there are moments where he's great. He is phenomenal during that whole Wendy Peffercorn pool scene. He's hilarious, and he's obviously very memorable in his like telling the story of the past of the beast. But I like I said, I like a lot more now. All his shit like it's so funny. And so I think Smalls really does great. I think Scotty Smalls, that actor does a really good job.
He plays fear really well.
Yeah,
like I was great by that as a kid when he was like, my dad's gonna kill me. Like it's
the awkwardness of just like I'll just leave. Like that, I related to that pretty much when I was like a kid like that. Like he does a good job, and which is important because he's sort of that lead.
Yeah, I thought they all do a good job.
I think the weakest performance of the kids, which will be an unpopular opinion.
You're gonna say Benny, aren't
you?
Benny.
Benny's fine. I'm not saying he's bad.
Okay.
He's just like, he's fine. The other kids bring a lot more personality to that role.
Yes, he does. He has the least personality.
Yeah, and he's kind of like the hero of the film, so you might like to see a little more.
Yeah, but also I'm gonna defend Benny and say it was probably, if he's the cool kind of, like he doesn't seem like he runs too hot or too cold. He seems very even keel, and just like lead by example kind of guy.
Sure.
Maybe he's just limited and that's what he was able to do, or maybe he was directed to do that. Maybe he was like, you don't need to be. All the other kids are the cartoon characters.
They got the hot guy.
Just like they get a cool, athletic, handsome young man.
I feel like my wife was saying something about like her or one of her friends or somebody was like conflicted about like they still find Benny really hot because they saw the movie when they were like 5. And they're like, fucking Benny is the man. Like that guy is gorgeous. It's like, hey, he's 13. Y'all calm down. He's fine. He's just like I said, I'd like a little more out of that. We're gonna come back to this subject later in my criticisms, just FYI.
Great.
So be ready. So the cast, they all do pretty good. The next thing I think is great is I think the writing is good. I think the writing is good, and especially, obviously, with really memorable lines and really memorable sequences. Like that's the stuff that I think comes first to mind. Like, "You're killing me, Smalls."
You're killing me, Smalls.
Is said to this day, 31 years later.
I have a t-shirt. I didn't bring it because I'm bad at this. I was going to say my job, but this isn't, you don't pay me to do this.
No. Except for those people on Patreon. We're really grateful for Fish, Richie, Keith's an idiot. Yeah, so thank you, favorite. Patreon. We love you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Quotes, memorability.
Nostalgia?
Memorability?
Sure.
Is that a word?
It's fine enough.
Memorable.
Memorableness.
Memorable. That sounds.
Memorability.
Memorability. Thank you. The fact that it is memorable is important, especially to this type of movie. How you should be judging, in my opinion, these types of movies. Does it make sense? Like it just has to make sense for the universe that it is building. Like, does it stay in line? You could argue it veers a little bit. Maybe that's what you're gonna say.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it.
But I think
I'm
it
ready.
does for the most part. And then, is it funny? Is it is it cleverly written to some degree? Are there memorable moments? Are those big? I don't want to say big action scenes, but those sequences that stick with you. That this film checks a lot of those boxes. I think of what this film should be graded on.
Yeah, I agree with that. Two other things I noticed that I think are really great. One is it does a great job with music. There's great music cues and music drops, and I think that adds a lot to like the bigness and the impact of a lot of those scenes. Whenever all the memorable scenes start with, some classic song coming in and hitting. And then I think it does a really smart thing as a kid's movie, which is, this movie obviously was made in '93, and the present day stuff, of which there is very minimal, just to the beginning and the end, is set in the early '90s. But the fact that it sets itself 30, 40 years earlier in the 50s, 60s, like it helps your film not feel dated because it's set in another time.
Yeah.
And I think that helps a lot with a lot of kinds of movies, a lot of genres, but particularly I think kids movies where you're like, oh, if it was a movie about kids playing street ball in '93, it would feel so dated. It'd be like The Mighty Ducks, which has its awesomeness in its own way, but it's like it's so of its time. Like this movie is being set back in the day makes it's like no matter what, it's always relevant because it's about this other time. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I don't know if they understand.
Explain it.
But I understand. Yeah, it can't be dated because it's already it's
intentionally
It's
dated.
intentionally dated.
Yeah, it's like a period piece.
Yes, because if you did it in the '90s, you would have like '90s language and '90s style.
Yeah,
and it would be like, that's very '90s.
It's a piece of cake.
But this doesn't feel like a '90s movie because it's kind of not.
And it harkens back to this like classic period of
this nostalgia.
Yeah, nostalgic childhood that people have for like that 50s, 60s time period.
Yeah.
And that just works for it, I think.
Well, it works for baseball. I mean, that's kind of what I want to talk about is like just this movie. I think one of the strongest points of this movie is how much it makes me love baseball. Like I wish I loved baseball growing up. Baseball was probably my favorite sport growing up. Like when I was in this demographic.
It felt important.
It felt important. Baseball meant something at that time. And I think this movie shows how it could. Yeah. And it like makes you want to be like, I gotta get out with my friends and I want to play baseball day. And it didn't matter that they weren't playing a game every day. They were just playing baseball. They weren't trying to win. They weren't trying to, it was so that's so charming. And even more charming, I kind of like it even more now because of how much I hate how things have developed, because this would never happen. Like kids would not wrap their arms around anything this well, and just be so happy to be part of a team. But this is just like just a beautiful look into a time frame where like the most important thing was just like enjoying that day.
Just going outside and
just
playing.
going outside, playing, being with your friends. Like
I love that shit. I thought simple. A lot about that as like Smalls would just always be like, I'm going outside, I'm leaving, Mom, going out.
Mom, going out.
Yeah. Out the front door. Like no explanation. You know what I mean? Like all that, because that's what it was. And we're like old guys now being like, back in the day, and back in my day, helicopter parenting wasn't a thing, but it's all true. It's like there is a really nice reminder. Like, did you feel like the movie captured the energy of your childhood in any way?
A little bit. That was definitely my childhood. It was just like be back before dark.
Yeah.
My parents didn't know where I was. Not that they were bad parents in that regard, but it
was the one thing they did right. I'm just kidding, guys. Stop it, Keith. They deserve better. They deserve a better son.
Yeah, they deserve better. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Piece of shit.
I am the problem.
We're really having breakthroughs here.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, a little bit. I was always out. I was playing a lot of sports.
Yeah.
When the mom's like, go get into trouble.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like I was that level of trouble. Like, I wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, you're
just
mixing it
being
up
a
a
young
little bit.
kid
Yeah.
doing, kid shit.
Yeah. Assaulting girls at the
Police
swimming pool.
officers.
Oh, yeah. We'll get there. Who were you? Which character were you when you watched? Did you do that when you were a kid? Like, I'm this
No.
guy, and your friend was like, I'm this guy.
I was none of those guys. I don't
Oh.
think. Maybe I forget his name. Maybe the pitcher. I forget his name.
Oh, yeah, I don't remember his name either. He throws the heaters.
They throw the heater.
Yeah.
The heater kid.
Yeah.
Maybe him.
Okay.
I don't think I was like any of the other kids.
Gotcha. You guys didn't do that when you watch movies? You'd be like, I'm that guy. I'm Leonardo.
Yes, but not
Okay.
with that movie.
Oh, okay. It's interesting.
Were you one of these kids?
Yeah, I always called Squints. Any character in any movie that was like girl crazy was me. Like I would just be like, I love girls. I just want everyone to know. Methinks.
Clearly.
No, don't protest too much. No, I was always like Squints. Squints is the man. So I was always Squints. I was like, I gotta get glasses. I gotta be
Glasses.
Squints.
I wear my glasses.
No, that's all right. Yeah, I was a big Squints guy.
Okay. What else do you like about it?
I mean, I think that's it. I mean, no, I mean, I listed a lot of things. I think just I think the writing of it lends itself so well to just memorable sequences, memorable lines, and it really nails the nostalgia. But it does such a hard to quantify thing that it's like you're nostalgic, but not for the '60s. You're just nostalgic for your own childhood.
Yeah.
And that's really special.
That's
Like,
a good
I don't
way
know
to
how
put
to
it.
measure that, but they did it
Yeah.
right. Like the one sequence that I always think of, like of all the memorable sequences, is the 4th of July thing, the night game.
Yeah.
It's just like the beautiful music choice.
Yep.
Like is that Ray Charles singing America, and just like these kids just taken aback by these fireworks, and they're playing baseball under the,
Yeah.
It's like moving.
Yeah.
And that reminds me
It
of
is
my
a-
youth of just being like, we're doing something special, even though we're just not doing it. We're just fucking around on a field nearby.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
Nice.
The world was so much smaller in a good way.
Yeah.
Where you and your friends' experience was the world.
Yeah.
And it was the most important thing, and you could just get caught up in the awe of those moments. I feel like that was, that is what I can relate to from my childhood. It was like, we were the center, my 4 or 5 friends, we were the center of the universe. And we did stuff, and then we'd talk about it forever. Like, that time that we did that, and sometimes you just get caught up in those moments. You know what I really like most about that fireworks scene? Yes, the awe and the beauty and the I agree 100%. And that also feels like a real moment in film. Mm-hmm. Like a film moment. Like it doesn't feel like a kid's movie moment.
Yeah.
No one farted or fell or did
yeah.
some goofy outsmarted an adult.
Yeah.
Like they just that feels like a real emotional moment.
Yeah, for sure.
And they just happen to be kids.
Yeah.
So I love all that stuff. But my favorite part about it is that Benny doesn't stop playing baseball.
Yeah.
And why that's important is because he's going to go on to be a Major League Baseball player. They reference it several times. We all knew he was going to go on to bigger and better things. And if he stops and watches the fireworks too, that shit's not believable anymore.
Yeah.
He is so focused. Everything about his character adds up to him being a Major League Baseball player. And that's such a small, maybe nitpicky thing that I'm grabbing onto because I just liked this movie as a kid. But I really mean it. Those small things, I think there's a bunch of small things like that real films have to do that kind of legwork, where comedies or kids' movies or even horror movies can just it's just whatever this movie is, so just don't fucking worry about it.
Yeah,
Could have easily been that here.
Yeah.
And they don't do that. And that's great. I think that's really great when you take the film serious enough to be like, well, this makes sense for this character to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I think this movie has a lot of those moments. And,
Yeah.
I very much appreciate that.
Yeah. Movies used to just do that in general.
Yeah.
Like a lot. I always joke about Beethoven. Beethoven's better than any modern film.
But he wants you to.
Well, honey, sometimes we don't get what we want. That's not the way the world works. If I don't get this deal, I'll kill myself.
I also really liked, in hindsight, and again, this is maybe for a kid's movie, because maybe it's too heavy-handed in a quote-unquote adult movie. But the first 2 minutes of the movie, there's a lot of things that that are going to happen and need to sort of get explained / set up. Because there's a lot of different things they're going to pay off at the end. It's not just one thing. In the first 2 minutes of the movie, it really sets up the importance of everything very, very quickly. Babe Ruth, the importance of Babe Ruth, because he's going to be a thing. The love of baseball is obviously explained in addition to that. Who the main character is, and then who the hero of the movie is as well. Like Benny the Jet is also explained. I'm losing you a little bit.
No, you're bringing up an issue.
But the main character and the hero are two different people. Is that, don't derail me here right now. And it also sets up the pickle. The importance of the pickle.
I hate that he says it like 3 times in the voiceover.
And he got me out of the biggest pickle I'd ever be in.
That's when I got us into the biggest pickle. And then 20 minutes later, like, and I was about to get us in the biggest, and then half an hour later, it's like, and that's when I got, and it's like, all right.
A little heavy-handed. Yes, but again, also, it's a kid movie, so you have to do those, because it's important for people to understand. Again, a lesser movie just takes it for granted. It doesn't matter if you know what a pickle is.
Values a child's intelligence, and then you just have to say it once or twice, not 3 times, but yeah.
No, but I'd rather them overdo it for this type of movie. But regardless, that's a lot to get through, and they do it in a very succinct way.
Yeah.
And I appreciate, I don't know, I think a lesser movie doesn't have as many things they need to pay off because they're not trying as hard.
Yeah.
They just go, this kid's gonna be great, and that's what the movie's about. Like the Benny the Jet becoming a Major League Baseball player.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Or it's just about the ball.
Yeah.
And that's it. But this has a lot of different
it's juggling a lot of
things that it sort of weaves through to tell this great story of this amazing summer that they had. Because that's really what the movie's about. The movie's about the best summer this kid ever had. That's, I think, how you encompass the movie. And it just is around baseball and these kids, and then you get a little bit of it paid off at the end of how their lives actually turned out.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I don't like all the skepticism.
No, you gave me a lot of things. You gave me a lot of things to think about.
Okay.
Like the movie being about a kid's best summer he ever had, I think is correct, but then I'm like, oh, well, then they probably should have done a couple things differently, which we'll talk about. We're getting there. We're going to get there, guys. Well, let's talk, before we get to my larger ideas and thoughts. The Wendy Peffercorn scene.
Infamous.
Infamous. Because I think it's been reinterpreted over the years. Have you caught wind of any of this?
I can only imagine. I have not heard anything specific or whatever. But going into the movie, I was this scene's not going to hold up. To today's standards, that this is going to be predatory behavior.
Yeah, it's particularly in the aftermath of like Me Too and just like looking at how things are portrayed in films. And so like I haven't seen it in a while, but like I went into it thinking like, oh yeah, like I never was going to be like, that scene is horrible and offensive and like everyone should be ashamed of themselves and consent is important and like all that, like consent is important. But like after watching it again, I literally thought too, like, this isn't even as bad. Like, I never thought it was gonna be bad, and it was somehow less than that. Like, the kid is 10 years old, okay?
Yeah,
like, he's trying to get a smooch.
Here's what I would change to make it better. Because I thought about it for a second after. I was like, okay, here's what I think, to me, would make a big difference. I don't remove it, because I do think ultimately...
I think it's the funniest scene in the film. No, I really do. I think it's the most memorable and funny scene. The kids are all doing great. Chauncey Leopardi's performance is hilarious. All of his little, all that shit is hilarious. Like, I think it's his smile when he's...
it's great.
Holy shit. Like, he's in deep shit or whatever he said. Like, all that stuff is really, really funny.
Yeah.
Oh man, he's a deep shit.
I think the only thing that I could look at it if I'm in a nitpick or whatever is when he grabs her. At the end, if he was just kind of like taking the kisses and then looking at his friends like, look at what I'm doing, and then going back and forth, and then like, then she figures it out and goes, you little pig, and like picks him up off the ground. To me, that's the where if I wanted to dig in and be like, you can't
you can
visibly
always make
force
things
a
better.
girl
But again, I will say the kid is 10.
But again, he's
the
10.
The kid is prepubescent.
Yeah.
Like
where girls are the thing. Like when
regardless, like he had a plot. He tried to. Of course, you planned that? Yeah, I've been planning it for a year. You guys had planned that. He knew what he was doing. All that shit.
Did you plan that? Of course I did. Been planning it for years. You guys didn't plan that. He knew what he was doing.
Yes, there's always teaching opportunities for your children, and you can watch that movie and be like, hey,
don't do
buddy. By the way, don't grab girls and kiss them without their consent. Great, teachable moment. But also, like, it's not like this film should be locked up and shuttered away because it shows bad.
Yeah, it's harmless. But
they got married. All right, it was true love.
I know.
It was true love.
Is it made worse by the fact that she, like at the end, like of the scene? Do you think they're trying to make it okay because she's like, hi, and then she smiled at him every time, like clearly she was into it.
She was begging for it.
But the film makes you say, I'm not just saying
stroking, rubbing. I can't take this anymore. His delivery of I can't take this anymore, I've never felt anything deeper to my core.
I can't take this no more.
Than like 11-year-old me. Just like, what are they doing?
Yeah, but that's how young boys are.
It's rough. It's hard out here.
A little sexually charged.
It was rough.
They're figuring some stuff out. They were figuring some stuff out when we're a little.
Yeah, I just think it was much ado about nothing.
You know what I think is worse, honestly, and when I heard it, I like inherently like cringe more. Was the you throw like a girl.
You play ball like a girl!
Yeah.
That's worse.
Yeah, that's the ultimate insult.
That's the worst insult that you could put where everyone's like, that's the Ace Ventura
not
moment
cool.
where you're brushing your teeth in the shower and crying at the same time. Like, this like, you throw like a girl because girls are that.
You play ball like a girl,
yeah. That's the thing.
You ever heard of Caitlin Clark?
You wish.
Yeah, you pieces of shit.
Like, that feels... I hate the movie for that more than the kiss thing. Like that.
Yeah, come after Ham, not Squints.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they say it a couple times. They have like two or three like girl references negatively. It was like, oh, this movie has
Well, I think that's some of the
issue.
criticism the movie got was just like, there's no girls. Like we're sitting here like, it's a great kids movie. It's the best kids movie of the 90s. But like little girls across the world might be a little bit like,
yes,
not really. Not a lot of perspective.
Yeah. But okay, how much deep perspective do you want from a kid's movie?
I know, but just I'm not saying that's how I feel. Like this is what this movie is. Like that's I feel that way about movies now. Like a complaint is that like all movies now have to be for everyone, and it's just like no. I mean, movies can just be about this thing. Yeah. And this one is about boys.
Yeah, and there could also be, I'm sure, I didn't watch it as a kid, but I'm sure there's girl-driven kids movies.
Well, I think the Sandlot 2 or 3 or whatever directed video was like a girl was the main character, a girl was the Benny.
Yeah, but you play ball like a girl! Excuse me? What did you say?
Which is fine, great, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, but you could level that criticism at it if you wanted to. Like, it's a little... one gender sided pretty heavily.
Yeah, but the story is about a group of boys.
Yeah,
hanging like.
We didn't hang out with chicks either.
We didn't. Yeah, I still don't hang out.
We
with
were
girls.
leering at them through the fence at the public pool. We weren't hanging out with them socially.
They would never talk to me.
Yeah, they knew better. Little fucking maniacs racing around outside. Yeah. All right, what else you got? Anything before we get into the deep problems?
I think the best scene of the movie. What do you think the best scene of the movie is?
Wendy Peffercorn.
Is the best scene in the movie?
Yeah, to me, that whole sequence of them getting to the pool and until they get thrown out is top-notch stuff.
Best scene of the movie is the end where all the kids fade away.
Oh, you think so?
I love that. I love how poetic it is, and I feel like the most relatable thing because everyone goes through that. Everyone grows up. Everyone moves away. Everyone moves on with their life, either physically or metaphorically. How many of us keep in touch with our friends from when we were 10 years old? Like, it is inevitable. And that scene, I think, hits the nail on the head for me about like moments in our lives. Mm-hmm. It's the most relatable like feeling I think people could have if you could just understand like, oh, my college friends. That's a 4-year window, it burns hot, and then it goes away, and then those people are dead to you.
Yeah.
You know, Did you have the same college experience?
Yeah, totally.
That's me?
Yeah.
Fuck those guys.
Most of them are literally dead. So, my college experience.
Anyway, I think I get emotional watching that scene. I'm not moved to tears, but I feel something. And I go, man, that's awesome. It's just, again, from a kid's movie that could put that sort of that emotion in context. I think it's so powerful from a place you wouldn't expect. It's made more powerful because I wouldn't expect a kid's movie to make anyone feel any legitimate emotion.
Yeah.
So I think that is the best scene. Not the funniest, obviously.
Yeah. All right, cool.
I love that scene.
9 children. Lucky number 9.
They have 9 kids.
Peffercorn and Squints. It's meant to be.
It's meant to be.
Yeah. I have 9 tattooed on my chest. I'll
He
take my
does.
shirt off later. I only had 4 drinks at dinner. I need 6 to really strip down.
You're lucky. You didn't have the 2 more.
All right, Keith.
All right, let's fight about it.
So here's what I think is pretty interesting.
You're an idiot.
So I was gonna start this by saying, like, I don't know that this movie knows what it's about. But then you said it's about this kid having the best summer of his life. And
That's what the movie
that
is
makes
about.
sense. But I don't know that it's, again, higher level. This is not like this movie's bad. It's just like, structurally, it is very interesting. Let's just say. Because what I would say is,
I'm going to disagree with everything
what
you're say.
I would say is the first act
Yeah.
is about Smalls. It's very much about Smalls, Scotty Smalls, moving to this new area. The problem is he needs to make friends.
I want you to make some friends this summer.
He doesn't have any friends. That's the problem. That's the conflict introduced to our protagonist. This kid's got to make friends. The middle of the film kind of becomes about all of them as a whole.
Yeah.
It's about the group. It's not like there's whole scenes where Scotty's kind of like just a background guy. Like he's not even the main guy. Like it's just like it's about other stuff happening, like, you know, all that shit, which is fine. It's about the group now. The third act is about Benny. It's Benny's story. And it's about Benny's arc, his learning about himself. So I would just say that you brought up the protagonist and the hero are not the same character.
They are not.
That's a little weird to me, number
Why?
one. I'll get there, I'm gonna tell you. Because your protagonist is, you know, just in terms of story structure of anything.
Do you just lack creativity? You can't understand that this...
Your protagonist, a film usually has a protagonist, and the story is about their arc, their introduction, them introduced to a conflict, them defeating that conflict, solving that problem, learning something about themselves in the process to conclude the film. The third act is just Benny learning about himself. It really isn't anything to do with Scotty Smalls. So like that's weird. And so if you want to tell me, which you may, films can have 2 protagonists. Films can have multiple main characters. Very true. But in that case, I would say that Benny, then we need to have some history of him. We need to see his home life earlier in the film. Because all of a sudden, we're just spending time with Benny, and it's Benny's dream. Babe Ruth visits Benny to tell him, this is your, and then all of a sudden it's like this moral of the story is about Benny needing to follow his dreams. It's like, that's not what this movie is. This movie is about Smalls needing to make friends and like needing to...
Well, that's not what the movie is about. At no point should anyone think that this movie is about Smalls needing to make friends. That is the inciting incident of the movie that like kicks everything off, but that's not what the movie is about. That I take issue.
Isn't it kind of set up that that's what the movie's about?
I know you're smart and I'm proud of you. I want you to make some friends this summer.
Wouldn't you agree?
No. I think quite literally, the movie opens with like a VO that says, let me tell you about the best summer of my life.
It was in the greatest summer of my life when he taught me how to play baseball, and he became my best friend.
There was other great summers after that, and this like group of friends were awesome. But this summer was amazing.
Sure.
So it's the story of how this one summer changed his life and the lives of all these kids.
Don't you think the resolution of the film should involve the protagonist and be a part of
It
his
does,
arc?
but-
It doesn't.
I disagree.
The whole chase scene of him and the dog, of Benny and the Beast.
Yes.
Why is Benny the main character of that
So-
scene? Shouldn't that be Smalls learning to like come out of his shell?
It is-
Whatever it is.
I think
apples
you're
to
not
apples.
giving. I don't think you're giving Benny enough credit, I think.
I don't think the film gives him enough credit there.
No, I understand your point. Maybe we need to learn, like maybe there should have been a scene early on where the two of them go to Benny's house.
Yeah.
And maybe you get a little bit of backstory and context. Like
that might be all it takes.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I don't think it would make the film worse. Smalls has the emotional journey, and Benny has the physical journey. Like he's the physically gifted one, and to sort of be like own being this legend that everybody has been sort of knowing that he is, because they mention it a handful of times. He's destined for greatness. We knew he was great. There was a whole bunch of that. It was sort of, that was his arc to get to that moment, to be like, prove it. Be a fucking legend. Like, own who you are going to be. This is your time. This is very deep for like a kid's movie, or whatever, but I believe that was the point of what this is. For him, he was the physical side of it. The emotional journey is him breaking out of his shell. The fact that he stole that ball, the kid in the beginning of the movie wouldn't steal that ball from his dad. Yeah. His friends and that summer empowered him, gave him the courage, gave him the moxie to be able to take those chances, get into a little bit of trouble. But shouldn't he solve
the problem then?
No, because that's how they were. The whole film, I am giving this film way too much credit. But really, Benny is the one who pulls him out of the shell. The kids hate him. They're picking on him. They're making fun of him. They don't want him. He's the one who's like, no. He's the savior to him. He's the one who forces all of this to happen. He's the hero of the film. But the emotional, because he's the one to save the day and prove himself. But the emotional journey comes on Smalls. Like, he's the one who has a full emotional arc to become the person he ultimately needs to become. They work together.
Sure. So I think really it could be solved by having one scene with Benny at his house. Like, I think that would solve my problem. Yeah.
It's like really abusive.
yeah. Just aggressively dark.
Yeah.
Trent Reznor is doing the score. It's just like fucking the dungeon.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go. Take my hat. It's got blood on it.
You know what I think is? I just want to say, like, why does Benny just like always have everything in his back pocket or whatever? Is like Mary Poppins bag behind him? I was like, just take this. I have it. It just says,
I play baseball all day today with this old hat in my jeans, just in case you needed it. So sure, we'll meet in the middle maybe. Like, I just one more scene with Benny just to help establish him as a part of that arc. I think I need a little more of him in the beginning, or a little more of Scotty in that resolution, where maybe he helps also defeat the beast, but I guess part of him picking it up, picking up the fence is part of it.
He's the two of. It's their story.
But so we need a little more of Benny, because Benny's just kind of there. And to me, that Babe Ruth scene, if my deepest criticism would just be like, all of a sudden that scene feels like the moral of the film.
Yes.
And that's like really the first time we're with Benny on his own.
Right.
And that's a little weird.
I don't disagree.
Give me a minute and a half of Benny sitting in his room at night dreaming, looking at his posters on the wall.
I don't disagree with that. Okay. I think there are small things that could have been done to up front that could further. But the movie, as I said before, is juggling. It's doing a lot.
I know.
There's a lot of things it's trying to get across.
Misstep.
The Babe Ruth scene, to me, watching today, I was like, it felt weird. Like, this movie now turns to like, the third act turns too kid-like to me, where they just start to do things.
Kid stuff. Well, all of that, trying to get the ball back, like, it's fun. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it turns into almost like Home Alone at the end.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It becomes a little too, it gets a little bonkers.
That's my biggest
And then all of a
complaint.
sudden the dog chase, even though I love that scene, that gets really like,
zany.
Yeah, not quite self-aware, but like Wolfman cuts. All that stuff's fun. Don't get me wrong.
It's very
But like
fun.
the cake scene in this park,
Yes.
that's out of Beethoven.
Yes.
That's like literally a Beethoven.
But yes.
Like,
I mean,
which is
also
like
true,
very
but-
like, woo!
Yes,
Like,
but that for 2 acts, the film is not like that. That's my biggest complaint.
Yeah.
Is that the third act, like a lot of films, just kind of lose its way, lose its groundedness.
Yeah.
And that if
It
I'm
comes
gonna
back
nitpick-
to it.
It does. It does come back to again. The end I love. The end is extremely poetic and beautiful, personally. But it takes a turn to like kid town.
Yeah.
Where like this movie isn't like this at all.
It wasn't like this.
Through any of this film.
All of the stuff with the Beast is fucking crazy because like it's so weird that this is like a movie about a kid trying to come out of a shell and this other kid trying to, fucking prove that he's great. But then also it's like a horror movie. And there's like this creature, it's a monster film behind it. Like,
Well, what my favorite part about that, and I feel like I could see either me or you saying how stupid this is in a different world, or you may say it right now.
I'll say it.
The fact that every time they reference the dog, and when they like peek in, the dog like grabs the.
Yeah, it's like a monster.
But it's clearly a fake paw. Like it's not even close to a real dog paw.
I had a problem with that as a kid.
I like it now, and I think I know why, but I might be shooting this film way too much.
No, because like I think we'll probably say the same thing, which is like the myth of the Beast is what they're imagining as they see this happen.
Yes.
So that all can make sense.
Which is awesome.
It is.
It's
it is
subtle,
awesome.
and it may look like a mistake.
I don't know if it's subtle, but it's
No. The thought process of it is that like you may see and be like, that's not a thing, that's stupid. I can't suspend my disbelief. That looks like
that's
a
what
puppet
these kids
hand.
imagine.
But thinking,
I get that.
That's cool. Like,
but to me, the times that becomes weird is once they're actually like towards the end, I would say, as right before they see the dog in the flesh and they pickle and they're face to face. But just like there's times while they're trying to get the ball back where they're like looking through the fence at the dog. So that kind of throws me off because it's like you see the dog in that moment. It's not your imagination. You're seeing the dog, but it's still this wild monster, which is like, I know it's a suspension of disbelief. It's a kid's movie, blah, blah, blah. It's all well and good. But it's like, I wouldn't say it's the most consistent thing where it doesn't, you gotta think about it.
Sure.
Other nitpick I would have is, it's insane. It's not realistic to me that after a month or two of the summer, that he's not going to know who Babe Ruth is. He hangs out with those kids every day. All they talk about is baseball. And then he's still just like, some lady gave it to him. Ruth, baby Ruth.
Yeah. You keep telling me that. Who is she? What?
It's like you're this genius erector set nerd, and you haven't you didn't go home after week 2 and read about Babe Ruth.
It's a bit.
It's a stretch. It's
You're nitpicking a little bit.
No, come on, Keith.
I think you're nitpicking a little bit.
You think he just plays baseball every day with these kids that idolize the great Bambino? And he's just like, oh, here's this ball signed by Babe Ruth, and he's just like, oh, it's the same guy? Like, yeah, buddy. Like, who did?
Well, yeah, he's coming.
Why do you, like, he's a genius, Keith. He thinks some random lady just gave his dad this ball and dad's got it on the shelf? You think that's what people save balls like that?
Yeah,
come on.
Like, you need that to happen.
Sure, but how else? Write it.
Because how else does he? Can you give me another example of how he would lose the ball? Because he has to lose the ball.
Sure.
The ball has to go over the fence.
I'd write a line that's just like, you got a narrator. You can do whatever the fuck you want. It's like, I didn't even realize it.
That's what he didn't realize. He didn't put it together.
Well, like, give me a reason why he didn't realize. How come you haven't talked? These kids, all they talk about.
He didn't realize it was the same person.
That's insane. Then don't make him some little genius, because he's not. Like,
well,
that's
yeah,
stupid.
I mean, yeah, they just make him. They made him a nerd.
Yeah.
So how do you make him a nerd? He has to be smart.
Yeah.
Come on. He can't just be a recluse.
Yeah.
If we're gonna talk about nitpicks, which that's all yours are, it really made me upset. I vaguely remembered it going into the movie, and then I watched it, and then I watched it again. I was like, yeah, this is awful. The continuity, huge continuity error with Benny the Jet stealing home. I want everyone to go back and watch the continuity error. Do you know the continuity error?
No, off the top of my head. I hate grown-up Benny the Jet. I hate the Dodgers. I hate that whole scene.
Well, just because you don't like the Dodgers.
No, I always thought that scene was so corny.
Oh, they do that. It's a callback, idiot.
It's fucking stupid. He steals home. I think the Jets got it. I don't like Arliss Howard, that actor that's playing the grown-up.
What?
It's not the same guy that's doing the narration. The director is doing the narration, and not the actor that's playing the older guy.
Of course, directors are always right.
Yeah, sure. He was all about. Yeah, no, I don't like any of that. What's the continuity?
I just kept.
What is it?
Oh.
What?
Okay, everyone. Did you notice this? This is for TikTok.
Thumbnail.
Did you notice?
This is going to change the way you think about the Sandlot.
Yes. Benny the Jet is about to steal home. He's running down.
As you do.
It's
In the pros. As you do.
It's happened. People still
That was like 5 times in history.
Benny the Jet was one of them. That's how good he was.
Yeah.
He had to prove himself. Legends never die. He's gonna steal home, and there's a cut between when he's running home and then when he dives into home, and they let that shot of him running down third base go way too long because he clearly slides feet first. If you watch him, it's not even like he's just like leaning back and you can kind of
I thought he did slide feet first.
He's like halfway into a foot
and then
slide, and then they cut and he's diving onto the. It is the worst continuity maybe ever in the history of film. Okay. Maybe it's not the worst edit in the history of cinema, which I may have said. I black out during the episodes. You can't hold me accountable for anything I say. The continuity may not be the quote-unquote issue here, but there is something wrong. The issue to me now, upon this review, is more the directing, if anything. Why? Because on the cut, the umpire is in front of the frame, so I lose any sense of where I was shot 1 to shot 2. So it's a very awkward sort of slide where he's trying to peel his body back and then touch home plate. It's very awkward. It looks like an editing issue, but I think it's more of a directing issue.
Can you think of a position in a game where you're playing against a rival and it's the bottom of the 9th?
Oh, they beat the Giants.
Yeah, they beat the Giants.
That's why you're pissed.
No, it's just stupid.
They
Stealing
beat
home
the Giants. We
is
figured
stupid.
it out. They'd never beat the Yankees.
Do you think that anyone would have the green light? Do you think anyone in history has stolen home in the bottom of the 9th in a walk-off situation like that? You think that's happened?
Was it a walk-off situation or just stole home?
They fucking hoist him up on their shoulders.
because I think he did something amazing. I don't think the game was over.
You can't just hoist people up on the shoulders in the middle of the 8th inning.
Why not?
That's not how it works. They won the game. They won the game on him stealing home.
I don't know if that's true.
That's fucking ridiculous. I never liked it. And I don't like it now.
You're being silly because the Giants
I don't give a shit.
weren't paying attention. The Giants weren't paying attention.
They would have been. 93? Who was it? No, it's not stupid. I don't like Benny. I don't like grown-up Benny.
You don't like his mustache?
I don't like anything about him, to be honest.
Why?
He's a piece of shit.
What?
Yeah. I don't trust him. They say the Jets lost a step, but I think he's still got a little. I don't like any. It's hokey. It just gets real hokey.
No, you wanna. That's.
The Jets stole home. The Jets stole home. Like that whole thing.
Imagine your best friend, the kid who changed your life forever, became a Major League Baseball player.
I can't imagine having a best friend who's successful.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.